All right. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna share the screen with you guys. This out of the way. Where are we? Here we are. Nope, that's the wrong button. Present. That's the right button. All right. So there are 6 universal human needs, as you guys are all familiar with. A couple of you aren't going to be too familiar, but you will get there very, very quickly, right? And so we've kind of gone over a lot of what these look like. What we want to understand, though, is everything that you and I do, and obviously I set this up so you guys could read it and follow along with me, but everything that you and I and others do is an attempt to meet at least one or more of these 6 human needs, no matter what the behavior or the emotion or the experience looks like. Anything we do, and I'm going to explain this really deeply, but just to give a heads up, whether you're feeling shy or you feel anxious or you're completely motivated or you're just cooking a meal in your house, or you were part of the terrorists in New York City in 2001, like anything you do and everything you do is an attempt to meet at least one of these 6 human needs. So I wanted to give you a couple of like very dramatic examples of there and contrast those examples toward each other so you can really understand how important these needs are, okay? And by the way, none of these things are you. They're just patterns that we have to understand about ourselves, okay? About our wiring and how we're currently running. So we all have different values, education, rules that we were raised with, goals, preferences, languages, religions, belief systems. But the one thing that we all have in common is that we're we're all hardwired with the exact same human needs. So I don't know why that's not starting. All right, there we go. So there's 6 of them, okay? So the first of the 6 human needs is need for certainty. This is the ability to move away from pain and ideally have some amount of comfort or pleasure. Now, it's hardwired into us to have some level of certainty just to survive, okay? But we can meet these needs in positive, neutral, or destructive ways. It doesn't really matter how you're doing it. You're going to find a way to do it no matter what because you have to, right? It's a survival. If you felt like when you woke up, that the ground wouldn't hold you, if you felt like your bedroom floor would not hold you, you'd be afraid to even get out of bed. So we need some level of certainty throughout the day just to mobilize, right? Just to move around. So with that said, you can overeat because when you overeat, all the blood rushes to your stomach and you start to breathe again, right? Like those deep diaphragmatic breaths, and it makes you feel comfortable in the body for that moment. You can smoke because if you're all bored or you're stressed out, you go outside and you have a smoke or you smoke weed, whatever it is. By the way, guys, there's no judgment in anything that we do here. In the group that you guys are in the Life and Relationship Mastery program altogether, there's no judgment. I don't care what you guys do. I want you guys to have results of just being happy and fulfilled. I'm not about to judge, and I'm not going to let you guys judge each other, and I'm sure you wouldn't anyway. So I just wanted to pre-frame it with that, okay? So if you go out and have a smoke, again, the deep diaphragmatic breath happens and it relaxes you and it kind of changes your state a bit. So you have certainty out of that. You can try to get certainty by controlling your surroundings or controlling your spouse or your kids, because we feel out of control of our life. We try to control things and people around us. It might not be sustainable, but it's an attempt to try to meet that need. You could do it by controlling your emotions, which is 100% positive. There's nothing wrong with controlling your own emotions. In fact, in the program, we teach you guys that there's something called a triad. And I say it like that because not everyone here is going to be familiar with that. But it's 3 things that we have complete control over that absolutely create our emotions because our emotions don't come to us. Something to keep in mind there. So this is a very healthy way to do it. You can do it by watching a movie because you, for a moment, are put in this other story and everything else in your life just goes away for a second, right? So it's like just this distraction, but it doesn't need to be destructive. It can be a totally positive way of doing it. You can go to the gym because when you feel all your muscles are filled with blood and all that tension, you start to feel very good for a moment. You feel powerful and in control, right? You're breathing heavy when you're at the gym. So you absolutely have a sense of certainty. You can do it by being angry because it's the same kind of thing that's happening in your body when you feel angry as when you're in the gym. Think about it. Your breathing gets more intense. Your muscles get tense. All those things start to happen. And when you're angry, there's like a cue to it, right? There's like this, and you just feel certain in your body, whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. You feel the certainty in your body. You can do it by being depressed. Someone who feels depressed, they're very certain that they know that emotion well. They might feel like crap when they're in that emotion, just completely just bedridden and just completely down in the dumps. But it gets to a point where that feels familiar and it's comfortable to go there, right? We just know that feeling. And so it's a very easy way to get that level of comfort. Plus, we now live in a society where if you're depressed and you let your employer know that, you could probably get the day off work. And by the way, again, this is not me saying, yo, you shouldn't do that. I'm just getting you to see how these things can work. So now by being depressed, we can see that we can avoid the pain of going into work. We don't want to go into work. We want an easier way of doing this, right? Of doing life. So this is an easy way to just be certain in ourselves and in our surroundings. You can do it by having a big problem. You're certain that it's not your fault you're not where you want to be in life. It's just that you have this really big problem and you can't seem to get rid of it, right? And if you can't seem to get rid of it, well, I'm certain that it's not me then, because it's the problem, not me. It's not that I'm not enough. It's that I have the big problem, okay? So you I also put some really crazy examples in here, like joining a gang. If you join a gang, like a Crips or the Bloods or whatever kind of gang there is out there, I'm not really into it. But you can be certain that your life has purpose now. You have meaning in your life. You have people around you who care and they're going to be there for you. You have something, you're making something of yourself. It's destructive, but you're making something of yourself, right? So you have absolute certainty there. I put this one in because it's probably one of the biggest examples on earth, but they probably felt super certain that they could make this thing happen. That's the only way that they got it to happen, right? But I want to show you the level of diversity here, from just feeling a basic emotion or watching a movie or making food, making food, just the very basic day-to-day things, all the way up to the craziest thing in the world, right? I'll give you one other example. I don't think I gave any more. Start a business to serve the world. Or you can even have a belief system that says, you know what, I found a way in the past. I've always found a way. I'll find a way again. And that just gives you the feeling of certainty. Wanted to give you one more example. There was a woman a few years ago who I worked with who, when I read her story, I figured out how she's meeting these needs. But the problem she was having was that she was splitting 52 personalities. And I was like, well, why would anyone split personalities? Like, why would they disassociate with different personalities? And I read her story, and it turned out that she was sexually abused from her father. And when she tried to tell somebody, they put her in a mental institution, and the doctor who was looking after her sexually abused her on a regular basis. And then they left her in a room with like nothing there, no stimulation. So the easiest way to get out of pain is it's not you. You follow that? It's not you. Therefore, I'm not in pain anymore because it's not me. So it's the only way out of pain. And like I said, certainty is a survival instinct. So we will do anything we can do to get out of pain, anything at all. And splitting personalities, if you have to do it, you will. All right. Now, if you knew what was going to happen, where it was going to happen, why it was going to happen, with who it was going to happen, day after day after day, in the beginning, that'd probably feel pretty good, right? But after a while, what would it start to feel? I'd say pretty bored. So we have a second human need for uncertainty, okay? We have a need for surprise, variety, stimulation. We have a need for the unknown because, again, I obviously said that before it came up. But yes, if you were certain all the time, you'd eventually get bored. So we all need variety to feel alive inside. Again, you can meet it in positive, neutral, or destructive ways. You can overeat because just like I said with certainty, you can overeat and yes, you start to breathe again, so you feel certainty, but now you also feel a bit of a change in state. If you're all stressed out and you can't figure out how to get the thing done, right? Resolve your problem, talk to your spouse, whatever the thing is at hand. If you go to eat, you've changed your focus, therefore you're feeling different in that moment. All the tastes, all the flavors, the blood rush into your stomach, you have that little bit of change how you feel, therefore you have some uncertainty, okay? By the way, any questions and whatever, if you guys have any after this presentation's done, I'll absolutely be here to answer them. So for anyone who wants to stay that long, but you can do it by doing drugs because you do drugs, your state is completely radically changed for as long as you're on the drugs, right? You can go have a smoke. Again, you go outside and have a smoke, changes your emotional state for the moment, right? You could start a new project or set a new goal. There's going to be lots of variety and lots of uncertainties in that on the way to achieving that goal. You can have an interesting conversation like being here. I'm sure this is some variety for a lot of you, whether you're coming on here because you're bored and you're like, well, that Tyler guy never stops talking. So I kind of want a distraction from my day, or whether you came to actually learn something. Either way, there's some amount of variety there for you, okay? Go watch a movie, you're feeling all the feelings of the characters and all the stuff while it's happening. It's a distraction from your life. So it's total variety, total uncertainty. Go to the gym, something different throughout your day, right? You're moving your body, you're feeling different. If you were stressed out, you're not going to be stressed out while you're at the gym. No matter what you're feeling while you're at the gym, you're feeling something different. Your body's moving, your biochemistry is changing. You have variety. You have the uncertainty. You can start a fight. You know the amount of people I work with who are in couples who they've started a fight unconsciously or developed a problem unconsciously because the relationship was getting so boring that they just needed to like spice it up a bit. They went the wrong direction with it, but getting in a fight will give you variety. Also, if you're in a fist fight, how much variety do you have? You don't know what's going to happen. It could go 38 different ways, right? You could have a big problem because everything is getting so boring day to day. It's such a monotonous life that we have. And so we have a big problem that we don't know how to deal with, but we can share it with everybody, right? So there's a variety of talking about the big problem that you just can't figure out how to solve. So there's another way. Again, join a gang, that's self-explanatory, all the different things happening all the time. You can destroy the Twin Towers in New York City. Again, there was a little bit of variety on that day, I would say. You can start a business to serve the world. You can get into a relationship. By the way, you guys might start to notice that several different things in life, whether it's the little things, the big things, can meet several of these different needs. And we're going to explain why that happens in a little bit here. But yes, you can meet tons of the needs with all the same thing. I don't know why I made it like that. That's interesting. Oops. Oh my God. Come on. There we go. Third human need, significance. We all have a need to feel special or unique or wanted or important. I mean, how many of you have had an experience where you really wanted to feel important or needed or unique, special, whatever it is, to the most important person in your life and you just didn't? That is like disheartening in a sense where you feel like you might as well be dead, or at least like you're just not worthy of anything. And it's really, really shitty. So we need to feel significant. You can meet this need in positive, neutral, negative ways. Again, you can achieve everything, break through big problems. That'll make you feel significant. You can have more money than anyone else. You can have a certain kind of religion. You know, most people are like, you know, I don't like Buddhism, or I don't like Christianity, or I don't like this or whatever. And by the way, first of all, I'm not religious personally, but if we have a religion, a lot of people like, what are most wars fought over? Besides like oil or money or whatever, it's who's more significant. And sometimes that's just about religion. Who's more religions more significant when they're all actually about love? That's what they're all about. We can have a better religion than the other, or so we think we do, right? You can have more tattoos or more piercings in places that no one ever wants to know. No one ever wants to know. You can have a unique hairstyle, a unique walk, a unique way of talking. By the way, I didn't put this in here, but you can have a special mission. Like for me, being able to serve you guys with understanding these things makes me feel unique. That makes me feel special in life, right? So that's just one of the ways. You can tear people down because think about it. If you're doing really well and you think someone else is phenomenal, but they don't really think that they're very phenomenal, what's the fastest way for them to feel significant? Is it going to be to cheer you on? No, because they look at you and they're like, wow, he or she is doing amazing. Fuck, I'm not really doing a whole lot here. So tearing you down is the fastest way to make me feel significant. You can either build the biggest building in town, or you can tear everyone else's down to feel like you're bigger. And that's what most people do. You don't need a college education. You don't need a degree. You don't need to have any skills. It's easy. This is why destruction is everywhere in our culture. Speaking of destruction, you can be violent. That'll make you feel significant. If I put a gun up to your head, again, I don't need any college education. I don't need to have known you at all in my life. And suddenly I'm the most significant thing in your life, right? Doesn't take any effort. You can have a big problem. We've discussed that. You can do it by being the best parent, right? You can contribute on a large scale. And of course, I did this little thing again. I'm going to have to figure out how I did that because that's not convenient. Right. So if we were completely, totally unique, special, significant, important, the one, the best, it's going to violate our fourth human need, which is the need for love and connection, right? We all need to feel love and connection. In fact, people who say, you know, they were never loved as a child or they didn't get enough love as a child, maybe they didn't get enough love or attention that they wanted. But if you didn't get physically held as a baby, you wouldn't have survived, because there's actually something, if you ask any doctor, called failure to thrive syndrome. So if you weren't physically held, like kinesthetically loved, you wouldn't have made it here. So if you got to this very boring or unique presentation, however you interpret it, you had to have been loved. So at some level, you were loved because it is a human need. And it's actually the most important human need, because I'll go back for 1 second. Every other animal in the animal kingdom or in the world had something that God or the universe or something gave it to survive, right? They had claws, they had wings, they had poison, they had shells, they had camouflage, they had something that enabled to, I'm talking too fast here, that enabled them to survive without a parent. which is why most animals, after a couple days, after a couple weeks, couple months, a few years maximum, that's like whales and some other primates, they're off on their own. But human beings have the longest dependency on another human being to put our needs ahead of theirs. So love is absolutely not even just mandatory, it's one of our most survival needs. So we all have the need to feel loved, but most people settle for basic levels of connection because a lot of people have been loved and then they feel like they lost that sense of love when they went through a relationship breakup or someone passed away close to them, and they thought that was so painful. They don't ever want to love deeply again, but they want some connection, right? So they keep it just a little bare minimum, but then they're never truly fulfilled, right? So you can meet these needs with by having a problem, because if you have a big problem, you connect with other people through that problem, right? You can do it by loving someone. You can do it by making love. You can do it by prayer because you feel totally connected to yourself and God, if that's what you believe in, right? You feel absolutely connected. You can walk through nature. You'll feel a sense of connection with yourself, with the surroundings with you. You can get really sick. What happens when you get really sick? People feel drawn to take care of you, whether it's a significant other, your kid, your parent, yourself. We feel connected because when we're sick, people want to take care of us, right? You can watch movies. Yes, you can masturbate. I put that in there because we're all adults, and hey, guess what? It's a way to feel connected with yourself. You can do it by drugs, spend time with your family. All right, so I want to check this chat box real quick because someone said something. Got to go in 10. Looking forward to the replay. Fantastic. We'll see you soon. All right. I'll actually just keep that open for myself. All right. So all of us find a way. Actually, that's not convenient. I'm going to minimize that. All of us find a way to meet the first 4 needs. It doesn't matter if you have to work 16 hours a day, split personalities, become suicidal, or even lie to yourself or other people. We have to meet those needs because they are survival. Those first 4 needs, you will do anything in order to meet them. It doesn't matter how good or bad they look. By the way, part of my goal, I have water burp, sorry. Part of my goal through this entire program and this presentation is to get you to start seeing other people's behaviors for what they really are. If there's someone in your life that you're like, I can't stand you, whether it's at work, whether it's a child, hopefully not, but if it is, hey, whoever it is, if you can't stand them, I want you to start seeing what needs are they trying to meet through that behavior I don't like. Because when we can actually start to see, oh, I see what needs they're meeting with, being like that or saying that thing or acting in this way, we can start to have compassion for them and actually influence them in a better place. So the last 2 needs are the needs of the spirit, which, as corny as it sounds, they're the only 2 that are really make us feel fulfilled long term, because there's only so much pleasure that you and I can feel in our body without sharing it. Have you ever noticed? And put it in the chat box if you believe this is true, okay? I'll open the chat box up here again. Let me know in the chat box if you had an experience where once you accomplished something or you had a good feeling or something great happened to you, or even something bad for that matter, immediately you wanted to share the news with somebody else. Your coworker, your best friend, your lover, just whoever it is, you wanted to turn and say, guess what happened, for the better or worse? Who's ever had this experience? Let me know, okay? So we have to have people in our lives in order to survive. And these 2 last needs are really the only way to feel fulfilled. Because like I said, the other needs will give you pleasure, but it doesn't last. Okay. I don't know why this isn't going here. There we go. All right. So the 5th need is to grow. We either grow or we die. There's no being stagnant. If your relationship isn't growing, it's dying. If your business isn't growing, it's dying, right? There's no stagnation there. Okay. You're either going forwards or backwards. And we grow so that we have something to give, or in other words, contribute, okay? Like I said, we all grow so we have something to give. We all must contribute or we are limited from evolution, if nothing else. Think about this. If you work at Tim Hortons or some coffee shop, wherever you are in the world, right? If you work at a just basic coffee shop, you don't feel like you're contributing much, but aren't you? If you're giving a coffee, you are contributing to someone else, as little or big as that seems to you, right? You are contributing. So no matter what we're doing, even the tree branch that falls off the tree in the forest and lands on the ground, there are beetles that come and they live inside that branch. The beetle doesn't understand where that branch came from. It doesn't understand why it's there, but they realize that's my home, right? So everything is contributing to everything, no matter what. No matter what you do. I'll even give you another one. Some people who are depressed, say if a child is depressed, they're actually, sorry, I just want to see something. If a child's depressed, one of the things I often look at in family situations that I coach is I look to see what are the parents' relationship like, because very often they're on the rocks and their relationship isn't strong and they're not meeting each other's needs. What happens is the child at an unconscious level goes, how can I make my parents come back together? Because my parents have to take care of me. And if they are splitting up and they're on the rocks, who's going to take care of me? So now they develop a big problem, because if they have that big problem, then their parents come together and get out of their own problems to focus just on the child. The child has now found a way to contribute to the whole family to keep it together. So every single thing on planet Earth, on God's green planet, blue planet, whatever you want to call it, has to contribute. It's got to contribute in some way, whether it's bad or good, it has to contribute no matter what. Think about it, even just at the basic level of problems. If problems didn't exist in the world, how would we get through and keep growing to the next level? And if we're not growing, see, now growth right there. So no matter what, everything we do, everything we experience is always something contributing to another thing. And if it's not, we got to grow through the problem so that we can contribute. So no matter what, these are immutable laws of the universe, as cheesy as that sounds, and we have to meet them to feel fulfilled. Now, of course, it's going to happen again. All right. There are only 3 differences in people. Though we all have to meet these needs, the only differences are, number 1, which 2 you value most. Number 2, I'm going to slow down here. Which 2 you value most? So there's 6 human needs, right? There's certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. Now, we all kind of value 1 or 2 above the rest. So if you are certainty driven, you feel the need to be in control. You have this feeling to need to feel that you can predict what's going to happen. You have to know that you're going to be comfortable. If you're not certain that this thing is going to work out, you don't really want to try and attempt it, because I don't know. And if it doesn't work out, oh my God, am I enough? Am I going to be loved? Like, oh, I just can't do it. It's too scary. I'm not certain about it. I can't do it. So if you're certainty driven, you're going in this direction. But if you're uncertainty driven, where you're like, oh my God, I never know what's going to happen, but I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be so much fun and exhilarating, and all the challenges and all the surprises. Oh my God, I'm all about the thrill. You're going to go this way. Certainty one way, uncertainty the exact opposite way, right? If you value significance at a high level, that means that you really feel like you have to feel like you're enough before you can give love or before you can do anything else. If you don't feel like you're enough, you're almost crippled by the need, like, oh my God, I can't go and do anything. I don't even know if I'm enough. And you just freak out if significance is driving you first. Now, none of this is a bad thing. None of this is a good thing. It just is what it is. So what you and I need to do is become honest with ourselves and look in our lives and say, okay, not what do I want to be operating by most, but what am I operating most? Because if it's say if you look in your relationship and you're like, you know what? I always want to know that it's going to work out. I always want to be in control of what's going to happen. I always want to know before I get into this relationship that I'm not going to get hurt. Then there's a damn good chance that's a certainty-driven person. If you feel like they're sharing an accomplishment with you and they're so excited, and you're excited for a little bit, but then they keep talking about it and they're so excited and they want you to be excited with them. But eventually some part of you is like, yeah, but like, you're not really making me feel very significant now. It's probably that you're significance driven. Okay. So we want to see what we're driven by. If we feel that we're love driven, it's probably that no matter what happens in our life, we could feel completely uncertain. We could feel like things are not going our way. We could feel like things are out of control, but we are still willing to give love because that's our first need. We're like, I will give love no matter what. Who follows this? Put something in the chat box if that makes sense. Okay. So the 2 you value most is going to determine the direction in your life, therefore the destination that you end up in. We're all going to end up somewhere in 10 years. The question is where? And what's the quality of that life going to be like? So you really have to figure out what are the 2 needs that drive you the most. Now, when we go into our individual sessions, I'm going to show you how you meet different needs in different areas of your life, but I don't want to confuse you guys too much. So we're just going to stick to understanding the needs for today, okay? Next part. What do you do in order to meet your needs? So one of the things we have to look at is, say if somebody wants certainty, right? Some people might get certainty by building a big business because they're like, if I know that I can, make enough money through building a business, then I can be certain that I can take care of my friends, my family, myself. We're all taken care of. Oh, now I can be certain. Somebody else's way might be like, you know what? as long as I get a welfare check or a whatever check from the government and I'm good and I'm taken care of, my bills are taken care of, and I don't need to go out and deal with anyone or face my fears, I'm certain we're good, we're secure, right? So you can do it by loving people, because I am certain that my identity is a lover, so I will give no matter what, because I'm certain that that's who I am. Or you get certainty by tearing someone down. Well, I'm certain that I'm the best because I'm going to tear you down to make sure that you know I'm the best, right? There's so many ways to do this, but what you do in order to meet your needs is also going to contribute to where you end up in 10 years. The reason, now the next part, I think I put one more thing in here. Yes. Are you meeting your needs in ways that are obtainable or sustainable? Because if you think about it, if I were to ask you, Dina or Kylie, or trying to think about everyone else's names that could be watching this, Julie, or I'm probably going to send this to someone else eventually. So whoever you are watching this, if I were to ask you by tomorrow at 9 a.m., okay, what time is it right now? It's 6 o'clock. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., if I told you, I want you to lose 50 pounds, 50 pounds by tomorrow at 9 a.m. And for that, if you can do it, I'll give you $1 million. Could you do it? Now, I know a lot of you are like, no, there's no way. I could say, absolutely, you could do it. Chop off your arm, chop off your other arm, chop off your both legs, 50 pounds are gone. But that's not sustainable. So that goal is obtainable, but it's not sustainable. And that's how most people are trying to meet their needs. They try to meet their needs for certainty, right? By being comfortable and knowing what's going to happen, by having a big problem, because it gets them to feel certain that it's not their fault. It's not their fault that they don't know how to go out and achieve. And it keeps them certain that they don't need to face their deepest fear of not being enough. Because two primary fears, I might as well give it to you. Two primary fears that we all have is one, the fear that we're not going to be enough. And if we're not enough, we feel like we're not going to be loved. Those are two dominant fears, the twin towers of our fears. So if we have a big enough problem, we can be certain that we don't need to face that fear, right? And so we need to make sure that we're looking at ways to meet our needs that are obtainable and sustainable and in healthy ways. If they are sustainable, they're going to be in healthy ways. If they're only obtainable, they're probably in disempowering ways or destructive ways. Okay. This is the most important thing. I want you to note this, guys, and write it down if you have something to write this down with, okay? Anytime you meet at least 3 of your needs with any thought, any feeling or emotion or behavior, you will become addicted to it. So a lot of times when someone comes to me, say you guys, for example, every one of you here have come to me because there's some challenge that you want to solve, whether it's confidence, whether it's something in your relationship, whether it's depression or anxiety, whether it's reaching the next level in your business. We need to understand that if we're having trouble, if we're struggling to get rid of that problem, it's not because we're unable to. And if you've had sessions with me, you've seen your challenges have gone through the floor, and you're progressing really fast because we're helping you get rid of them. So it's not that you can't do it, it's that it's meeting our needs. And so we become blinded almost as to how to get rid of it, because our brain knows, okay, we're good, we have this problem, we don't need to go any further. So if you look at it, what's an experience, and I believe this was the last slide I made. Nope. I have questions for you to answer. Smart guy. If you look at it though, actually, this is one of the questions coming up, so I'll just keep going. All right, questions for you to answer. Number 2, which of the 6 human needs have you personally been valuing most? I explained why that happens and why that's important for you to figure out. I'll give you a hint though. If in your relationship, you want certainty and significance first, whether it's only certainty or only significance and something else, doesn't matter. If one of those 2 needs are in your top for what you're trying to get out of a relationship, it's not going to end well, because the other person is always going to feel either controlled or criticized from the certainty that you need. And if it's significance, they're always going to feel like they're just not enough to you, because relationship is a place that you go to give, not to get. Okay. So what 2 human needs are you valuing most, kind of overall in your life? Individual sessions, we're going to go into where you're meeting them in each of your kind of life areas, and you'll get a better perspective that way. The next thing though, think of a problem or challenge you've had for quite some time. One that you're currently struggling with, or one that you've struggled with in the past, and which 3 needs has that problem been meeting? As for the reason that I explained on the last slide, if you're having a challenge, it doesn't matter if it's just shyness, it doesn't matter if it's depression, it doesn't matter if it's anger issues, it doesn't matter if it's something in your relationship, whatever challenge you're struggling with, it's because at some level, consciously or subconsciously, it's meeting at least 3 of those needs. And if we look at those needs on a scale of say 1 to 10, you might not be meeting them at 10 like you're completely feeling significant or completely certain or completely connected and loved, or it might not be like that, but you might be like, you know what, I feel kind of important, I feel kind of significant, like this is a pretty big problem, right? So it could be like at a level 3, but if you're meeting 3 of these needs even at a level 1 of 10, you'll still be an addiction. So that's something to look at. Okay. Now think of somebody who you have a hard time communicating with on a regular basis. Which needs are they trying to meet by acting in the way that you don't like? Okay, that's really important, because if we want to understand how to influence people and get through to people and collaborate with them, if we go, oh, wait a second, them being rude or unkind, as impolite as that is, they're trying to meet their need for significance. And if they're trying to meet their need for significance, there's a good chance that they feel insignificant in their life. And usually certainty and significance go with each other. So you could say, wow, they feel so out of control and so unimportant or insignificant in their life. Insecure is a better word. I should just give them some love. So they're being mean to you. If you give them love and love and love and love, eventually it starts to go down, because their biggest and deepest needs are being met. And that's that they are enough to be loved. So they'll start coming around a little bit. Okay. Let me know if that made sense. I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm also